What are your thoughts on drugs in wrestling, both recreational and performance enhancing? How is this managed in TNA now and in the future?
Well, I am proud to say that I am the only person in our industry who proactively went to Capitol Hill and met with Congress for a full day and was, subjective to a very intense line of questioning. Jason, you ain't nothing compared to those guys. And, really worked with them hand in hand to create a program for us that they felt like they had input into it, and so we accepted that and worked with them and hired an outside company that they approved of to put a program in place for us. So, that was a very important step for us. I myself, I've never done drugs. I don't have, I drug test myself, and I know it's the biggest waste of $350 to do it, but I feel like I have to set an example for everybody and expect other people to do what I do.
They're great.
The drug test?
No, drugs.
Oh.
Ah, you're
Sorry.
so silly. You're all so silly.
Sorry.
Samuel from the board at F4W Online, how do you feel about WWE's wellness policy testing for marijuana? And if you one day institute a policy, would you also test for marijuana?
Well, I don't want to comment on their policy, just ours, but we do test for marijuana as well, and there is repercussions for positive outcomes. And you would be positive, sir?
No, I said rub it down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Aaron H., it's been reported that Kurt Angle was released by WWE for significant health issues that concerned WWE management. Before he was allowed to wrestle for TNA, how did you evaluate Kurt's health to determine it was safe for him to perform in the ring, for your company? Excuse me.
When Kurt and I first spoke, he was such a broken man, and it was tough talking to him. It was really hard listening to what he had gone through and where, what he was coming out of. And I was, I told him, I said in that first conversation, I said, I would love to have you, and I think TNA would be a very good place for you to get your life back together and, be surrounded by good people and be clean all the time and, have people who care for you. But, I'm very concerned at how broken you are, and he had a lot of anger in him for what had happened. And I just said, look, in life you have two choices. You can blame the people who you perceive are the ones that put you in these situations, or you could take responsibility. At some point you could have said, no, sorry, not going to show up, not going to do this. So it was a big part of him kind of letting go. But to that specific question, I talked to his manager, met with him in person several times, talked with the doctors. We took it very, very, very seriously. And I have to say, he is an amazing man. I don't know how many of you have ever had the chance to meet him, but he's, if I could have 1,000 Kurt Angles and, for all my wrestlers who are still in the back, he's just somebody to strive to be. He doesn't know anything less than perfection in the ring. He's great behind the mic. He's a wonderful leader. He's just a really good man who works so hard and sets the bar so high. And it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Nice. Samuel from the board at F4W Online, why do you not care that Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Pac goes on YouTube and post videos about taking somas and not being able to get into Canada because of gun charges?
Well, I would hope those were old stories, and knowing those guys, they love to sit around for hours at a time and talk to each other and anybody who will listen about their old stories. So poor YouTube has become a new home for these guys to increase the number of people who will listen to them. So you know what, again, not real crazy about it if you want to know the truth, but those guys, most of our guys, some of them have a history, but the fact is, it's how they are today. I'm proud to tell you, Scott Hall is doing great and is clean and is living a good life and is working very, very hard. And I take great pride in people who have struggles in their life being able to come and be a part of our company and come out better people in addition to anything else, more importantly than anything else.
Emulin?
Emulin.
Yeah, you want to take a shot at that? Because I'm flummoxed. Dixie, with all the precautions that WWE has taken recently with chair shots, blood, and extreme violence removed from programming, with these differences from the competitor's product now embraced in TNA, do you think that TNA wrestlers' health and well-being is in good hands or simply being exploited until something happens to change this? Okay, comparing WWE's chair shots to...
Well, I think those precautions were taken to become a PG product, and that's a business decision that I think, you know, is a good business decision for them. I don't think it was completely out of concern for the athletes as much as, you know, this is where we need to go, and the advertisers want us to go, and the toy makers want us to go. And
someone running for office?
Someone, yeah. So that was your outside voice. I heard that.
Damn it, I hate that.
But, you know, I think that, you know, we have been very blessed. Angelina's in the back with an arm injury, and we've been very blessed to have very few injuries with our talent, and most all of them, the most serious ones, have all just been the slightest fluke things. These guys are incredible professionals. When they say do not try this at home, there's a reason for it. These people know what they're doing.
Do you feel that in today's day and age, though, that there is added risk with having a non-PG product as a business owner, from a liability standpoint, with chair shots and blading and blood and
Well, I don't
stuff?
think blood and stuff like that. I mean, any movie, I mean, you can go on 7 o'clock programming on network these days and see more sexual innuendo or blood and guts and shoot 'em up than you do on our product any day of the week. But I think, you know, chair shots is something else. I mean, I think that's something that you know, there's still studies and work that needs to be done, but there's always, you know, you have to take concern when it comes to concussions.
WCW 2010, this chapter's called. We see where this is going. Matt Farmer from Wrestling Classics asks, do you realize your company is nearly a mirror image of early 2000 WCW, a company that lost millions of dollars and a regiment that killed a longtime tradition on a cable company? Actually, these are all like the same questions, so let's just knock these all out in one shot. James Sirigos, have you heard of the phrase, those who do not learn from history are destined to repeat it? Malti Kunz from Hanover, Germany. Are you aware what guys like Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, Vince Russo, and Eric Bischoff did in WCW? How many members of the TNA crew have come to you to tell you they've got a bad feeling about Hogan and Bischoff coming to TNA? Jason from Melbourne, Australia, hello again. Has Eric Bischoff offered to print advertising materials and reproduce entrance music for TNA for companies he's associated with? I refer to claims Mike Graham has made against Bischoff in WCW, siphoning money for his own personal gain via companies he's associated with. Mike Kinney, Dixie, from Hulk Hogan to Vince Russo. You have every one of the alleged all-stars that ran WCW into the ground. Hulk Hogan has even changed his physical ring style, the physical ring style of TNA's six-sided ring, a ring style that set TNA apart, and a ring style that TNA has had since day one. The way I see it, Hogan will continue to make changes such as cutting young talent, bring his friends in who are far past their prime. Don't you feel it's counterproductive to allow people to blatantly cause the demise of WCW to come into TNA and take over the booking and production? What makes you think they will suddenly have the magic wrestling formula they didn't have 10 years ago? Jason from Melbourne, Australia, do you have fears that Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff will go bankrupt for the company? Go. Take my pants off. Relax, go ahead.
Am I supposed to go back and remember all of those? You know what? I don't think it's right for me to comment on WCW. I can tell you, I know that there is a lot of misinformation out there of people who perceive things to be one way. And, you know, the questions that I do ask, I ask specifically as it relates to our company and things such as that. I will say, I think one of the biggest problems that WCW had back then was a group of very selfish talent. You know, they were all wanting big raises, I mean, big contracts, and talking to each other about them, and then not showing up because they have a toenail and all this other stuff. And, you know, that was just one of the things that happened. But, you know, I'm trying to learn from that. And the guys we have now who were there, they're just in a different place in life. I mean, I look back and I see some tapes or interviews of these people that now work for me, and I don't even recognize them. I don't know these people. I think I go back and I look at some stuff on Vince Russo, and it's not even the same man that I know today. I know even Eric Bischoff, and you know, especially the Hulk Hogan and the Ric Flairs, and You know, we've always had WCW guys. I mean, when there are only two companies, you have two choices. You can have somebody that worked for one of those two or start from scratch. And starting from scratch to build a true superstar takes so many years. I mean, it takes the WWE 5 to 7 years to build one of their really, really big guys, and that's with all the resources in the world that we don't have. You know, so if you're a football team, what do? Go out and that guy looks big and he's going to play offensive lineman, or do you go and you go to the Eagles, or the Giants or whoever, excuse me, and you just you pull that talent. So you can't help that there are talent on our roster that have, if they're a superstar, they've been in one of those two places, and only one never went to the WWF, and that would be Sting. So,
He is pretty big, isn't he?
he is, yeah.
Ballerina. Samuel from the board at F4W Online. When Eric Bischoff was running WCW, he came out during the Monday Night Wars and challenged Vince McMahon to a fight. In 2010, can we expect you to come out on Impact and challenge Stephanie McMahon to a fight?
I don't think that's my style.
Matthew from 411 Mania, you stated several times that pay-per-view is not as important as to the company's survival as many might think, that you are only fulfilling contractual obligations at this current time. Well then, when those contracts run out, and when they do you intend on moving beyond pay-per-view into a TV-only market plan?
Well, I think that pay-per-view is not what it used to be, for sure. And we've been lucky this year. We've had a couple of our biggest pay-per-views in our company history in 2010. But like I said before, it's a dying model, but it's also one I happen to make many millions of dollars on, cleared, at the end of the day. So until I can replace that income with something at least that or better, I'll continue to do it. But it's not where, I would put my sole focus where I might have if I was back in 2002.
Very good. Matt Farmer from Wrestling Classics. Is the Bischoff-Hogan regiment being held accountable for the falling television ratings and the horrible pay-per-view buy rates?
Well, we just discussed that we've had a couple of our highest pay-per-view buys ever since January, and that is reversing a trend of declining pay-per-view buys out there, and that goes for our competitor as well. So we're very happy with that. And as far as the falling television ratings, I think that the same shows in the United States on Mondays that got the ratings that they did were also, getting historic ratings over in the United Kingdom and in Australia and other places such as that. So where, the United States Monday did not work, those exact same shows are garnering tremendous ratings in other places around the world in their existing time slots.
Yeah. Talent. And a video from the Silver Blazer.
See the one on the potty?
Oh, well, no, but
Oh.
I don't know if it's going to be much.